Hi everyone, my name is Nathan, and today I have the fifth and final pre-recorded league with the Jeskai Resto Kiki Midrange deck. Being that this is kind of, I guess, the last video, I can do a bit. I'll do a bit of a wrap up at the end. I'll probably be just repeating some things that I've said about the deck previously, but if you haven't watched all the videos, then stay tuned for that. I will see you guys in a second. Okay, so we're on the play. Decided to mulligan that hand. It didn't do anything until turn 3. This hand was better. So I put the Finks on the bottom because I want to draw lands. Alright. Looking like a pretty strong draw from our Eldrazi opponent. Quite the explosive start. He's actually, this is turn 2, and he's cast 2, 4, 6, 9 mana worth of spells on turn 2. I've actually played Eldrazi a few times with this deck, and I've been surprised at how effective Blade Splicer has been. And it is showcased in this video at some point, which you'll see. Kitchen Finks makes a nice wall, but if you're ever able to get like 2 Blade Splicers in play or blink one and have 6/6 worth of first strike damage, you can sometimes assemble a board state in which the Eldrazi opponent is probably like, bewildered is probably the wrong word, but it's certainly surprised that they actually cannot attack at all, because you have, you can kill Reality Smasher and your creatures live. You can kill Thought-Knot Seer and your creatures live. And every time they attack, it's just a losing proposition for them. So I don't remember how this first game went. We're under a very real amount of pressure here. We do get to gain some life. Actually, I don't remember if I opted to play Finks or Splicer. Like, Splicer looks okay, but so does Finks because the life gain. And this is, yeah, it looks like I played Finks. This is where I've been with the deck, which is Splicer or Finks. And I think I'm leaning towards Splicer, but it's important to know I did not build this deck to try to beat Jeskai. So even though he can exile our Finks and prevent it from coming back, I think we still need to block. Alright, we drew a removal spell, which is nice. I think I sat here thinking for a moment, does it make more sense to start condemning things, or play Splicer? Getting a little aggressive with our life total. Granted, they don't play burn. The reason I did that is what I realized is that I have an opportunity to, depending on what they play, like assuming it's not a Reality Smasher, I can actually trade with everything and even get rid of this man land, which would ultimately kill me. The thought was, alright, I'll condemn this thing, and then I can block here, block here, block here, and the Golem won't actually die. The Splicer would, but he opted to just attack with the Blinkmoth Nexus. So, fortunately for me, that meant that I could just cast the Condemn and see what we draw. I remember thinking here, do I hold up Leak, or do I hold up Leak for like a Reality Smasher? I decided that I just kind of wanted to I just needed to hope he didn't have an amazing draw like that, and just continue developing our board, make our life total a little safer. Unfortunately, our Blade Splicer was shot. But, you know, our opponent hasn't drawn anything huge. We still have Snap Condemn up if he does. And we have a board here that our opponent is just staring at, despite being, you know, the big, mean, and aggressive Eldrazi deck. Granted, all of his creatures are small. Obviously, this will not always work out this way, but the creatures are doing their job. So I don't remember exactly what I did here. I think the right thing to do might be to go like bolt, snap, bolt. And then the thing is, even if he has like a like if he untaps and has a Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher, our Mana Leak is still live at this point. So let's see, what did I do? Because I don't remember. I could also be right to just not do anything and... no, I don't think that's right. I think the right thing to do is to do something here. Just making Cascade Bluffs work the way that I want to. Trying to remember why I killed this one. Oh, I guess I felt like this is never getting any bigger. He revealed the wastes, which makes our leak worse. I'm assuming I killed the Eldrazi Mimic. And again, like, just... This is, you know, if nothing else, this is showing how the deck can grind. He spent a card to kill this. He spent two cards to kill the Blade Splicer. And we still have a card that can generate advantage. I'm imagining what I did is Helix Endless one and started getting busy, but we'll see. Five damage a turn isn't bad. Okay, so now our leak is definitely dead. I mean, so this is a lethal attack if our opponent doesn't draw an answer. And obviously it's correct to just attack here and then follow it up with Pia and Kira Nalar. Can't imagine how our opponent would win this game. So he played an Ulamog and exiled the tokens, but he was still just dead to an attack. Okay, so that's how the first game went. I will see you guys for the second. Alright, so this is game 2 of round 5. Smart Bomb is on the play. He had a lot of small creatures, and I really thought that we might be able to get some good mileage out of Anger here. Opponent with another ridiculous start. It is turn 1, and they've cast 5 mana worth of spells. decided to play the wall so that we can just take a little less damage, sit in front of this one of these things. Sower is obviously big game. Is it decision here? Like, I opted to. Did I really block this? Because I think I should have. Oh, I knew I was gonna take like a ton of damage, but I thought, all right, well, the following turn I can wrath everything away with anger and block the Oblivion Sower. Oh, I know what happened. I actually, that was my plan, but I realized I made a mistake. So this may be something that you don't have to worry about. No, wait. Did I? I didn't make a mistake because I don't think I had the land in play. But like the mistake that I didn't make that you want to be aware of if you're playing against Eldrazi is when they cast an Oblivion Sower, if you feel like you want to get a basic or a land out of your deck, then you should crack your fetch land in response, because here it didn't occur to me immediately, but because my opponent took my mountain out, I couldn't get the Scalding Tarn to get another red source to anger. I would have had to take 3 to do it. The plan was to get a red source, go to 2, anger, block the Oblivion Sower, and then at some point, like, I had 2 answers to Oblivion Sower after that, so in theory I could stabilize on 2 life. And I think the plan was okay, but I couldn't execute it because of the land the Oblivion Sower took. So on to game 3. Okay, so I was on the play. Click too quickly there. That hand had it had a Kiki Jiki and a Revelarg, and it just had a bunch of stuff way too early. So this has removal and a cantrip and a blocker. So I think that this is a pretty clear keep. I kept the Wall of Omens because it cantrips and buys us time. So our opponent played this, which I immediately felt like, that's awful. We are going to lose this game. Thankfully, we can still just, play out our spells, and we technically have the option of trying to just, at some point, draw a Kiki Jiki. Just cantripping here. P and Kira Nalar can buy time. Restoration Angel can blink Pia and Kira Nalar, which is a completely relevant thing. Reality Smasher is annoying. I'm kind of waiting to see what happened here. I don't remember. I want to say that I don't remember if I played a Revelark or if I played a Restoration Angel, but I know I was trying to piece together, like, how can I not, what's the best way for me to block, and then maybe blink Restoration Angel on Pia and Kira Nalar to make enough tokens to then be able to just kill Reality Smasher through blocking. So things are looking grim. You know, we're facing down a pretty beefy onslaught here. Yeah, so I think I blocked like this to absorb. These can trade. This absorbs a bunch, and this is a good chump. And I think I actually kept the one Thopter token because I can untap, play Revelark, get back Wall, and Pia and Kira Nalar. And that will actually kill the Smasher. I believe that is the line that I took here. Anger of the Gods not looking good against these creatures. It's not really for Eldrazi. It's for like the Melira decks and obviously Affinity and Merfolk. You know, if I was really metagaming against Eldrazi, these would probably just be Supreme Verdicts. We're at 9, and again, just facing down kind of a ridiculous assault. Unfortunately, our Restoration Angel got taken, so against this much pressure, the reality, and this isn't even a card anymore, the reality that we're going, the possibility that we're going to be able to combo off is really low, which is unfortunate because that's probably the only way that we're getting out of this. And that option was kind of just taken from us. Okay, so obviously now, like, we can't just block and kill a Reality Smasher. What we can do is take 5 by chumping this and trading with his Mimic, which keeps the value train going. We get back Pia, Kira Nalar, and Wall of Omens, which is, you know, this interaction with Revelark and Blade Splicer is one of the reasons that I'm running Revelark in these games that can get really grindy. So now we're at 4. Kiki Jiki does not copy Pia and Kira Nalar, unfortunately, but it can copy a Thopter token as a blocker, and it can copy a Wall as a blocker. So obviously, if that's what we're going to do, the best thing to do is just to copy the Wall as another blocker and to draw a card. We drew a Kitchen Finks. Now, Kiki Jiki can copy Kitchen Finks, which could be good enough. I don't remember what I did. Okay, obviously, I think I just decided to play Kitchen Finks here. So, Endless One can easily be chumped by a Thopter. So can Thought-Knot Seer. The other thing is if we like Kitchen Finks with 2 Thopter tokens, then we can kill a Reality Smasher. And then Pia and Kira Nalar. It might have been better to just play Kiki Jiki and copy Wall of Omens, because then we can draw a card, take 1 here, block there, chump this, chump this. But if we survive this tack, then we can be in a position to play Kiki Jiki and begin copying Kitchen Finks. I don't remember exactly what I did, and I don't know what the best play here is. Trying to redo it. I know, like, I realized I had a ton of time. So at this point, I really started trying to think long and hard and tanking about the best way to use my spells to try to win as I could, even though it wasn't going to happen. I didn't want to give up the fight. Our opponent had a lot of thinking to do there, I guess, about how he wanted to attack. And I had a bit of thinking to do as well about how I chose to block. I don't know if it was right for our opponent not to just attack with everything. He made my decision a lot easier, obviously. So this might have been a mistake here. Let's see, because if our opponent just attacked here, then Wall of Omens can block this, or I can trade with a Thopter. Thopter can also just chump a Thought-Knot Seer. Then I basically end up with nothing on the board. No, I end up with a Kitchen Finks. No Thopter tokens. I did get to go to 7. Just hanging on here like for dear life. And my opponent, actually, the reason his time is so low, which you can't see in this video, is he made me wait a lot. I don't know if he was double queuing, but there were times where I just sat there for like 5 minutes staring at the screen. Another Reality Smasher. Like, every attack step is like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get out of this? Now let's see, if our opponent had just attacked with the Thought-Knot Seer and the Mimic, I probably would have put the wall in front of the Mimic just so I don't lose it and chumped the Thought-Knot Seer. So I'd have everything, but the board would look exactly the same, but I would have one less Thopter token. So I don't know if that comes back to bite my opponent or not. So the opponent has one card in hand. I don't know if it's a gut shot. I decided the best thing to do was copy the wall. It played around more spells that he could have. It could soak up like more damage if I want to put it in front of Reality Smasher, and it draws me a card as well, which I was able to get a Kiki in play. So at this point, if I draw a Restoration Angel, I might be able to get out of it. Drew a land. I didn't want to sacrifice the Finks because I wanted to leave myself with something to do with this. So, I don't remember exactly how long I sat and thought about this. But I realized that I felt like he must have a removal spell because he's just not doing anything with this card in his hand. He's just kind of waiting for the right moment to use it. So it could be a gut shot, in which, if it is, then I'm not in good shape. But if it's like a Dismember, then I can actually play Splicer and keep up Mana Leak. So and if it is a Dismember, then at some point maybe my opponent should have used it. He's left himself with very little time, so I'm sure that could be impacting his play. I don't know why I didn't play a land there. I've noticed, like, rewatching my videos, I miss a lot of land drops, I think, which is I need to be really cognizant of. Our opponent has very little time. we're at 2. So I really need to get this right. And I decide to copy the Blade Splicer. And my opponent actually did have the Dismember. Which, if this gets countered, then I only have 3 blockers here. I'm pretty well dead. But, like I said, I did have a leak. And it took me a while to figure out how I wanted to block. I'll like let it go through, and you can probably see all the different... Like I was like, I have 8 minutes. I get to think about this as long as I want to. And what I finally realized was, wait a second. We can finally trade here. I can chump here and chump here. But Kiki Jiki can... So this dies, right? And these don't die. So assuming nothing else happens, I can actually live again next turn. Because at that point, Kiki Jiki can copy a Golem token, and I have 3 blockers for these creatures. And if I draw a removal spell, say I Path to Exile... Oh wait, I can't. That's right. Chalice. But that's what I was thinking at this point. I don't know if I had figured anything else about that. Besides that, rather. As you can see, I was like playing through lots of different permutations. I felt like I had all the time. Finally chose to block like this. Oh, yeah, so I realized like the best thing to do is like however I lined it up so I think Blade Splicer could trade with a Mimic, which meant that then actually I could end up with like if I copied a Golem, like it took me a little while to realize this, and maybe that looked to me I remember feeling like that was really complicated. But what I finally lined up was I could kill the Reality Smasher, trade with the Mimic. He would have 2 creatures, at which point I could copy a Golem token and have trade with an Endless One and at least chump a Thought-Knot Seer. So managing to still like somehow stay alive. Despite not casting a single removal spell, just getting value with Kiki Jiki. So, you know, our opponent's probably just not very used to this this kind of thing happening. But if he attacks with Thought-Knot Seer and Endless One, then he makes me basically get rid of all of my golems. If he just attacks with Endless One, I get to copy a golem and then double block an Endless One while retaining a golem, which is fantastic because then I can copy it again and put 6 power in play. So this was, to me, definitely a mistake. It could also be that my opponent has no time and he's like, oh, I just got to do this, I got to do this. He's thinking really quickly, which actually made me want to fight to try as much as I could to win this game even more, because if you ever played Magic Online, it's no fun when your opponent makes you just wait. You know, if they're double queuing you or if they, you know, I don't know what the opponent's thinking, but sometimes I feel like I used to see this sometimes with the really busted decks. I used to see this with Amulet. Basically, the opponent's like, my deck is so powerful, I barely need to pay attention to this game, and I can beat you so quickly. And you just do a lot of waiting, and then they do their plays, you do a lot of waiting, then they do their plays, you do a lot of waiting, and they eventually just kill you because they sort of know all of the sequences for their deck, and their deck is doing such powerful things that they just don't need to try as hard in some ways. So I don't know if he was doing that, but I kind of told myself in my head, I was like, maybe that's what he's doing, and I really want to try to beat him. And it ended up sort of working out not in his favor because he left. I managed to somehow stay alive at low life totals, and then he left very little time on the clock for him to properly think through his plays. So, like I said, I was able to Um, now I can still block here, and actually I can just chump here and here at this point, so I'm not totally dead. Activated Lighthouse. Unfortunately, I couldn't play the Ghost Quarter. Finally, I decided to do things at his upkeep in case he do removal. Again, I think it was probably incorrect to just attack with one creature, because he keeps leaving me with this Golem token to get value from. So obviously I have to block because I'm at 2. He could have also just felt like, well, I just want to see what I draw. He revealed an Ulamog, but he was unable to cast it. We drew a path. Chose to shoot the eye. We're still alive because we have this Kiki Jiki and Golem token. I think we could have been dead if our opponent had done things a little differently. He has 5 seconds on the clock. He's going to lose to time at this point. I have 3 minutes because I've been thinking like intensely about how to block and what to do. And I drew a Restoration Angel. Did I activate Loot House? I don't think I did, but I should have. I should have copied a Golem token, activated Lighthouse to pitch like a bolt or something. But I did draw the Restoration Angel. And even though I could have just passed because my opponent was going to run out of time and not be able to win, because he made me wait so long and just left me waiting so many times, and I fought so hard for this victory, I decided to combo. He clearly didn't have an answer, and I decided to just make him watch the whole thing. And just fast forward here. Decided to just make way more tokens than I needed to. Really kill him. My opponent actually blocked. And somehow, I won this game. And I don't know if you remember. Hold on one second. There's actually a lot of scenarios. I went back through here to find like what was the most ridiculous board state. And there was a ton of them. There was lots of times where I was like, how are you possibly going to win? But at one point, I'm at 7. He has 20 power. 20 power. And somehow, through the value town that is Kiki Jiki, being able to do more than just copy Resto. I mean, everybody runs Wall. Basically, I totally won this game because of Kiki Jiki. I managed to somehow turn this into a win, which is kind of crazy. I wish I had just recorded this match for. Here's the thing, though. If I had recorded it, I don't know if I would have won, because while I record, I play worse. It's just. When I go rewatch my videos, kind of even on the replay, when I don't have to think about how to play, I see myself make so many mistakes. I'm like, why would you do that? Nate, play the land, or whatever it is. And when I'm playing it, sometimes I just miss it. And I do that a lot more when I'm recording, because it uses up so much brain space. I'm not trying to make excuses. I find it so interesting to like watch myself while I've, say, recorded content or something, and just see how many more mistakes I make. Anyway, I mean, it's always easier to just watch Magic and pick up mistakes. I mean, I wasn't recording. I made mistakes. I missed the land drop. I should have activated Loot House. But anyway, crazy game. I wish I had recorded it. Just that way you guys could have seen it play out in real time. This is definitely like one of the hardest fought victories that I've had in Magic in a long time. Okay, so kind of a wrap up here. this is where I'm at with the deck now, and the way that I think the deck is going to look for the rotation or after the rotation. And I don't know how decks are going to change. There are some new cards coming out that look like they will be reasonable. But it will probably be this. I may at some point go back to Kitchen Finks, but for now I know that I want to test the Splicer build. And I don't know what I'm going to put in the board, but Is It Staticaster is never a bad choice. Kronos is good as well, but because we sort of have like all of these creatures that can be brought back with Revelark. How many do we actually have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 creatures that can be brought back by Revelark. I should really do the math and determine, if that's actually good enough. But I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, in the grindy games like versus Jun, your stuff's going to be dying. But anyway, I think it's going to look like this. The deck has awesome removal. You have enough removal to be completely reasonable against things like Affinity. Blade Splicers, Golem Token can even block Edge Champion, which is super nice. But what I wanted to say about Blade Splicer is, you can kind of see in some of these videos, like, if you're ever able to copy a Blade Splicer, you really make a wall that a lot of creatures just can't attack through. Like, almost all of them. Goyf can't attack into 6/6 first strike. And even if you can, right? Like, even if you're like, it's a 5/6 Goyf, he can only kill one Golem token. So let's say he attacks into it and they've killed Blade Splicer, you retain a Golem. And one thing to note is that Golem plus Bolt against another creature kills also just about anything. And it's not even it's not card disadvantage for you to do that. In fact, let's see, if you've, let's say, somehow ended up with a Blade Splicer and 2 Golem tokens, and they kill a Blade Splicer, you have 2 Golem tokens, you both traded a card technically there. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Actually, let me think. Because then if you were going to get 2 Golems, you'd have to have another Blade Splicer, and you can assume the other one would have died. Anyway, the thing to note is a Golem chump plus a Bolt kills just about every creature. The other reason that I like 4 Blade Splicers is, let's say you play a Blade Splicer and then you blink it with Restoration Angel. Let's say that your opponent kills the Splicer in response, so you don't get the value, and then they kill your Angel token. There's a lot of scenarios in which you kind of end up with a lone Golem, because they had to kill the Restoration Angel because it's big and it flies. They have to kill the Blade Splicer because of the value. Now you just have a Golem token, but maybe they can figure out a way to deal with that. But every Blade Splicer that you draw later in the game is much better than it normally would, because now that Golem that's there gets improved by the Blade Splicer that you played. So, plus the Blade Splicer makes a Golem, so again, it's going to be difficult for them to remove everything. It's likely you're going to end up with a Golem, and when you play another Blade Splicer, then that Golem gets better, and you suddenly end up with 6 power on the board again that is first strike. So, I also tested, at one point I had 2 Pia and Kira Nalars. I moved to 1. I think that's fine. It's legendary. You don't want too much legendary stuff that, you can't play on top of one another, but also it doesn't work with Kiki Jiki, and I'm really trying to maximize Restoration Angel and Kiki Jiki. If in some metas it might be right. Restoration Angel and Pia and Kira Nalar are certainly amazing together in and of themselves, and it does come back with Revelark. So, some other things to note. Obviously, Kiki Jiki going infinite with Restoration Angel is ideal, but if they don't have an immediate answer, which I found it's unlikely for the decks that have answers, it's unlikely that they do, because you're able to actually put enough creatures out there that they need to answer that by the time you get around to playing a Kiki Jiki, they may not have removal. And Kiki Jiki, just copying a Blade Splicer once or twice, you're generating enough value and putting enough power on the battlefield that in and of itself can be enough to win the game. Some things I've also noticed you may not be aware of, but the deck can win behind an Ensnaring Bridge. Like against Land Control, you can copy Snapcaster Mage with Kiki Jiki to flashback all your burn spells. If you just have like a Kiki Jiki and a Pia and Kira Nalar, you can copy a Thopter token and deal 2 a turn, which isn't very fast, but Lantern Control isn't very fast. If you were to end up with the combo, if you were to end up with Kiki Jiki, Restoration Angel, and Pia and Kira Nalar on the board, you can copy a Restoration Angel, blink the Pia and Kira Nalar, and make a bunch of tokens to burn out your opponent. So that's another interesting thing. The deck is sweet. I really like it. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this league. I went 4-1. I beat a crazy burn deck that went to like 20-something turns every time. I beat a red-white Eldrazi deck, which my opponent conceded, and that was kind of weird. But then I was able to show you another Eldrazi deck that I piloted in a different league, which was Rug Eldrazi. I managed to beat that deck. Lost to Bant Company, beat Jund, and then in a really epic round 5, beat, I guess, Mono Black Eldrazi. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the deck. Tomorrow, guys can look forward to another Versus video. I don't think I'm going to pilot this deck. I already piloted it once through a Versus video and a league and some other videos, so I think it's time to show you guys something else. I actually think we may do something interesting, and it may be Blue Moon versus Jund, which should make for some grindy, interesting gameplay. Alright guys, thanks a lot for watching. As always, if you like what I'm doing here, if you like the modern content I'm creating, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And until then, draw well and smash face. Bye.